Welcome to another edition of Self-Defense Across America. Okay, we're back with some more defensive use of a firearm incidents from this past week. We're going to start in Gainesville, Florida, where we have an adult male unharmed and a family member is our suspect, Brian Joseph Howard. He's 36 years old. And we'll see what this family incident turned into. Residents in a northwest Gainesville neighborhood were awakened? Well, woken is what they wrote, by sounds of gunfire after officers say a man threatened to kill his mother. Gainesville Police Department officers say they responded to Northwest 54th Lane around 12:40 a.m. after a woman called saying her son was trying to kill her. Officers arrested Brian Joseph Howard on charges of shooting a missile into a dwelling and attempted burglary. Shooting a missile? Officers say Howard threatened to kill his mother and drove to her home. He then began kicking the front door and threw a rock through the window. How is that a missile? Inside the home, Howard's mother and his brother thought he had fired a gun, breaking the window. The brother fired shots into the air to scare Howard off. He was arrested by responding officers. No one was hurt in the incident. Okay, so sometimes you come across writers for these articles that they're saying he shot a missile into the dwelling and he threw a rock through a window. But anyway, it just sounds like some, guy, he's 36 years old, got upset with his mom and, throwing a temper tantrum, and the other brother, doesn't say how old he was, pulled out a gun and fired it into the air and tried to just scare him off and calm the situation down. All right, go to Columbia, South Carolina, where we have our male 17-year-old victim that was unharmed. And this is another family incident. A 40-year-old male was killed in saying domestic violence, so this must be a father-son thing. A fight on Monday between a man and his teenage son turned deadly. 17-year-old fatally shot his 40-year-old father, the sheriff's department said Tuesday. It was Monday afternoon when deputies responded to a call about a shooting at the home in the 1100 block of Peachwood Drive, according to the release. That's in Columbia, near the intersection of Blue Ridge Terrace and about 3 minutes from the exit 68 on Interstate 20. Deputies learned that the teen and his father had been arguing and that the altercation became physical as the father punched the son and placed him in a chokehold. Information about why the family members were arguing before the fight was not available. As the fight continued, the father overpowered his son and forced him to the ground, where he continued to choke the teen. As the mother attempted to intervene, the son produced a handgun and fired shots, hitting his father in the upper body. The 40-year-old died at the scene. The Richland County Coroner's Office has not publicly identified the father. Information on the teen's medical condition was not available, and no other injuries were reported. No charges will be filed, as the shooting was determined to be justified homicide. So these, this is a guy thing. They get into these huge fights and, I don't know. The kid has a gun on him. So that tells you something, that he's got a gun on him in his house with his family. It either says something about the kid or it says something about where they live. And, these family stuff, they don't need to end like all this, the way this stuff keeps ending. All right, let's go to Colorado Springs, Colorado. We got a female adult who was unharmed, and our suspect was an adult male that was killed. Boy, is everyone going to be died in this one today? All right, we got Colorado Springs Police Department is investigating an early morning shooting at the northeast side of the city in which one person was found dead. According to CSPD, a shooting was reported just after 1:15 a.m. on Monday, September 25th. The caller reported that she was about to be attacked by a man she had just met, so she shot him before leaving the scene. Officers found the woman in her car at a hospital, and based on information she provided, police were able to find the body of the man in the parking lot of an apartment complex in the 6900 block of Alpine Courant View. CSPD detectives from the Violent Crimes Unit responded to resume to assume the investigation, and the woman who reported the shooting was interviewed and released. So they must be calling this self-defense as well. No charges are going to be filed for her. Some guy she doesn't know, he attacked her, and she had to take things into her own hands. All right, we go to Tucson, Arizona, where we have two victims. One was killed. 54-year-old Dennis James Sherwood Sr. was killed, and an adult male victim was unharmed, and our suspect was also killed. Our suspect was 12 years old, and a 12-year-old male. One man is dead after a shooting on the east side Saturday. According to Tucson police, officers responded to a report of a shooting at the QT on Patano Road around 10:15 Saturday night. One man was pronounced dead at the scene, and another was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Homicide detectives did respond and will continue the investigation. And that's all they have. Make sure to stay tuned for more as more information becomes available. All right, well, this is self-defense. Someone's dead and someone shot. And the 12-year-old, the suspect, was killed. So likely at a gas station. It was probably a carjacking, although it didn't say that. I'm just assuming that. And the two victims were in the car, and the older gentleman, the 54-year-old Dennis Sherwood, who died, he likely got in a shootout with this 12-year-old over a carjacking or some type of robbery or something. I'm assuming that. It doesn't say any of that, but that's the most likely scenario. All right, now we're going to go to Atlanta, Georgia, at the Mall West End. And we have two victims and a suspect, and all three people were killed. Boy, everybody's dying today. 17-year-old Derrion Johnson, victim, killed. 20-year-old Jakobi Maddox, victim, killed. 38-year-old Jarvis Scott, that's our suspect, and he was also killed. All right, two men and a teenage boy are dead following a targeted shooting near the Mall West End on Saturday. The suspect also died in the shooting. Police, two men and a teenage boy. It just showed what we just read off was just because the other guy, maybe they didn't list his name because he didn't die. Police said it happened at 640 Evans Street in southwest part of the city. Officers said they received a person shot call around 1:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon. When they got there, police said they found three people who had all sustained gunshot wounds. Two men died at the scene, and a third was rushed to Grady, where he died upon arrival. The victims were identified as 17-year-old Derrion Johnson and 38-year-old Jarvis Scott. On Saturday, family members identified the third victim as 20-year-old Jakobi Maddox. Police did not say which man was a suspect who died. Initial investigation by police shows the shooting was targeted. Police said that a man walked up to two other people and started shooting at them before one of the victims began returning gunfire. All three people were shot and died from their injuries. Homicide investigators are working to determine the motive for the shooting. So this is kind of weird. It reads like there's three are dead. I see what it said. They're counting the suspect as one of the people that died. So basically these guys get in a shootout and everybody dies. That's the gist of that story. All right, Decatur, Georgia. We got a 71-year-old victim, male, that's injured. And we have a 37-year-old male victim that was injured. And our suspect, 40-year-old male, he was injured. And this is the first one that people aren't dying in. Three men were injured in a shooting that occurred at Big Daddy's Grocery in DeKalb County on Saturday. Police say a 40-year-old man intentionally shot the 37-year-old because of a previous altercation. Due to their previous altercation, police say the 37-year-old returned fire in self-defense, shooting the suspect. During the shooting, police say a 71-year-old man was struck in the crossfire of the altercation. All three of the men were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Okay, that's all I got on that. So the 40-year-old man intentionally shot the 37-year-old man. Oh, okay, so because of some previous deal, the 37-year-old guy returned fire, so he's the self-defense, and the 40-year-old man is the suspect. and the 71-year-old. It always, it's always like the older people and kids sitting in cars or something like that that get hit by the stray bullets. Okay, let's go to Lake Stevens, Washington, where we have a 23-year-old male victim that was unharmed and a 41-year-old male suspect that was killed. Everybody, this is a road rage. Everybody seems like they're getting killed in all these today. A wild road rage incident unfolded in Snohomish County and ended with a homicide that was unrelated to the roadway dispute. Okay, according to the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office, say that 10 times fast, the incident occurred Friday on the 15,300 block of 84th Street Northeast in Lake Stevens. Investigators learned a road rage incident occurred between a 23-year-old man and an adult woman as both were driving east on 84th Street. The man got out of the vehicle and went up to the woman who, as she was being confronted, told the man another man was attempting to steal his vehicle. The 23-year-old man returned to his vehicle and a physical altercation occurred with the 41-year-old man. During the altercation, the 23-year-old man shot the 41-year-old man. He died at the scene. In a Monday morning update, the SCSO said the 41-year-old man was in the area riding a bicycle before the shooting happened, and he is believed to be associated with a nearby property, but officials did not elaborate further on what that means. The 41-year-old man's identity has not been released. The SCSO did say none of the three parties involved knew each other. The neighbors who knew the 23-year-old man should be held accountable for starting the situation that eventually resulted in the shooting. So this guy, the 23-year-old man and the adult woman, they're both driving, and this guy gets out of the car. And when he gets out of his car, there's the 41-year-old man is trying to break in and steal the car. And so the woman sends the road rage guy back, and the road rage guy, then they get in a fight. I mean, this is how stupid all this stuff can be sometimes. I mean, if there's a road rage incident, if you're the woman in the car in the front, you don't stop. You don't stop and let the guy come up to your door. You just drive off. You go to a gas station, well, maybe not a gas station, but you find a police station or you find someplace safe to go. And the 23-year-old, you never get out of your car. He doesn't know that girl could have a gun and just shoot him as he walks up. I mean, there was a day, years ago that you maybe could get away with some of this, but not anymore. I don't know what's wrong with these people. Some of this stuff is just, it's really ridiculous. And if it wasn't like deadly like this stuff, it would be almost comical that all these things, I mean, all these situations we had, it's families fighting with each other, road rage things that are completely avoidable if you want them to be. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.